Welcome back to Midday. We are at the Kamloops Art Gallery this afternoon. It is a beautiful sunny day outside, but some spectacular things going on inside the art gallery. We are joined by Charo Neville, who is the curator, who we haven't met before. Very nice to meet you today.
You too.
Yes.
Thanks for coming by.
Thank you for having us. We have a new exhibit that we're here to talk about. It's called An Era of Discontent, and it's running now through to the end of the year, in fact, December 31st. So it's a very interesting exhibit. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how it came to be.
Yeah, I guess the title is kind of provocative, and the show is as well, but it's also quiet in ways too. It's really, as the title suggests, a two-part kind of question. It's looking at the era of discontent that I think that we're in right now. There's been many throughout history, but this is the first time, I would say, in the last year or two that in my lifetime I've ever seen people really going to the streets in major ways and protesting for freedom and democracy. So I wanted to put on a show that was responding to that, and then the art as occupation part of that is just a curiosity of mine about what artists are doing right now with their practices around art and politics.
So what are some of the different mini exhibits within the greater exhibit that we're seeing here? Because there's some very interesting things.
Yeah, I would say there's roughly about 12 projects, and some of those aren't singular artists, but they're collaborative projects. So it's a group exhibition, and there's work brought to us from a project from the Netherlands, and there are some Afghan war rugs, and there is a beautiful porcelain teapot that was came from China by a Turkish artist, and there's a video by a Swiss artist. There's also quite a few Vancouver-based artists in the show too.
We see some suitcases gathered together on the floor. What is that about?
Yeah, they're called cultural briefs, and when they seem like just regular briefcases when you see them at first, but they're actually made from animal hide. So they were made by a Micmac artist, Teresa Marshall, and they're actually in our permanent collection, which is always something that we're interested in including in our exhibitions here. And they're essentially briefcases that are made out of deer hide, that are meant to make you look twice, and also to use them as drums. So they're not just, you know, their typical use value. They've been repurposed, essentially. And in fact, there was one of the lead negotiators for the Nisga'a land treaties, took one of them into court at one time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I noticed on another wall it's been transformed into a chalkboard, and it says, "What would make you take to the streets?" And there's some interesting things on there.
Yeah, I mean, I thought of the exhibition as kind of a contemplative space, but then I also wanted to offer viewers an opportunity to tell us what they were concerned about. So we put this provocative question up on the board, and we've had lots of interesting responses. And we've also got a kind of couch area where we provide resources for people to look into the history of artists dealing with politics in their artwork. Okay, also there is a running video in one part of the art gallery as well. What is that showing? Yeah, I think we hear the chainsaw right now,
yes,
actually.
There's some noises.
That is a work by Cameron Kerr, and he's based mostly in Vancouver. And what he did was he took his 4x4 up to a clear cut in Squamish. And so the video shows him kind of walking through this clear cut and finding this beautiful fir stump. And then he proceeds to do a chainsaw carving in the middle of this glorious landscape with all these snow-capped mountains in the back. And you don't actually see the front of the chainsaw carving. He just kind of leaves it at the end of the video. But in the actual exhibition, we have the carving, and it's a bust of Karl Marx, which is ironic on many levels.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
What kind of comments are you getting from people who have come to visit this exhibit so far?
It seems really positive. Yeah, I think that people are quite interested.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And then, of course, right behind us, we have the peace sign here. I love that. I think it's a beautiful piece of work.
It is beautiful. And that's a work by Elizabeth Zvonar, who's also based in Vancouver. And it's a funny one because it reads differently depending on which side you're on, right? So we're seeing it here as the peace sign.
Sure.
But it's also can be like a defiant, flippant gesture. So she was interested in how language is read in that way.
Okay.
You know, we understand it as the peace sign because in the 60s, the pacifist movement really took that on as their symbol, but it was also known before that as the Churchill salute for victory, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Lots of things to learn here by coming and walking through. I can get that sense from you.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
really exciting.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being here today. It's very nice to meet you.
You too.
And hope the exhibit goes well. If you are interested in coming down and checking it out, again, it runs here at the Counts Art Gallery, effective now through right to the end of December 31st.